Hello everyone, this is KIDM the Man bringing you all another figure review of the Hasbro's Power Rangers Lightning Collection, the Ninjetti Rangers, or the Ninja Rangers from Season 3 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. First off, thank you all for your patience for this video, but I promise you it's gonna be worth it. And secondly, I would like to wish you all a happy Chinese New Year, or Lunar New Year, for those who are celebrating it, like me. So, with that out of the way, let's get started and let's catch up. This video will be using a slightly different format as 75% of this set is almost identical to each other. In the beginning, we knew these figures were coming starting from the initial leaks or announcements of Billy and Adam. The fans, like me, were all excited that we're getting the Rangers in their Ninjetti suits. It might be a sign that we're getting civilian Rangers soon. After that came Tommy and Kim's announcement leaks, and boy oh boy, that's even more exciting. A few months later, here in Malaysia, we got them in limited quantity per each hobby store, and my dealer already had a set ready for me. I was excited to make this review, but then life happened and I had no choice but to delay them, giving me extra time to take a good look at them to give you what you might have missed out on. As I mentioned earlier, 75% of the figures here are made with the same mold, with a few exceptions. But that does not discount the fact that the painting and the sculpting of these figures are more phenomenal. It's the first time we get to see something different in the Lightning Collection. Out of the box, these figures come in the default Season 3 MMPR look, where the entirety of the face is covered except for the eyes. The cloth that is covering the whole head is nicely molded with the detailed creases. The eyes of the figures are painted, but what's really impressive is that the surrounding skin of the eyes are painted as well. You really have to give credit to Hasbro for that and not go with the route of making them having the dark eyes like in the series. The diamond on the forehead is nicely sculpted and painted in both black and gold for Tommy. Another thing to take note on Tommy is that since the figure is almost entirely white, you will find that it can easily get dirty, so heads up for you collectors out there. The bandana is nicely sculpted and it's attached to the head via a ball joint, which makes this soft rubber plastic accessory posable as if the wind is blowing the bandana in the air. As for the torso of the figure, the same soft plastic material is on the outside of the body, whereas on the inside is a solid plastic piece. Here you can see the consistency of the creases of the outfit continues and there are minimal paint apps applied to bring out the screen accurate details. As for the power coin emblem, it is nicely printed on to show you the designated Ninja Zord. The quality of these will vary as mine has a tiny dirt splotch on it. For the shoulders of the figure, it's an additional piece made of a soft plastic material. The diamonds on it are nicely sculpted and painted along with the gold lines. Since it is a separate piece, this allows you to rotate the arm to keep the consistency of the suit design. There are however chances of getting the paint rubbed off, so do keep that in mind. The wrist cuffs of the figure has plenty of sculpted diamonds in all sizes. The bigger ones will have the more details on it, like the black paint, whereas the smaller ones are just plain gold, and the same gold that's used for the outline of the cuffs. On the back of the figure, the crease consistency continues along with the paint accents. The belt is sculpted and painted with a glossy black paint all around. There will be some paint rubbed off on the white areas of the figure. It doesn't bother me as much as it kinda gives the figure some character. The pattern continues on the back of the arm as well, but this time the plastic of the arms does look a bit glossy than the rest of the figure. It's an interesting contrast to the matte finish of the torso detail. As for the lower half of the figure, the flow of the design continues from the pelvis to the thighs. I assume that is due to the molding of the legs. There will be visible gaps in between the joints of the upper thigh, or we can chalk it up to Hasbro's poor quality control issues. The kneecaps, like the elbow, does have a unique look to them. Maybe it's because of how different this suit design is as compared to all of the previous Rangers we've been getting. It will take time to get used to. The boots themselves are nicely sculpted and the diamonds are consistent with the cuffs in terms of paint and sculpt. For the feet, it's molded based on the classic Japanese sandals design where you can see the indent of the big toe and the remaining toes. No surprise that the back of the waist is still sculpted nicely, and you'll see the back of the cuffs and boots will have the sculpting of a shoelace strap. A very nice touch to the source material. For the bottom of the feet, it's not your standard Ranger feet as it is molded differently to fit the motif. He comes with fists, karate chop hand, signature posing hand, a leg kicking effect piece, an unmasked head, which is sculpted quite nicely, capturing the features of Tommy with the hair and bandana all together. The diamond is painted too, but it's slightly different from the fully masked head. Hooded masked head, a nicely sculpted accessory with the extra scarf cloth for the neck of the figure, also reminding you that COVID isn't over yet and that you should still mask up. To put the effect piece in, it's as easy as putting your foot up in your shoe, so you can have imposing dynamic kicks. The scarves are interchangeable with some of the heads, so let your creativity take over, plus it helps the figure keep themselves warm. Now that you had a detailed look on how the male Ninjetti figures look, we can take a quicker look at Adam for his own well-deserved screen time, and what else differentiates them. Season 3 look out of the box with the exact same sculpting, the eyes are properly painted on like Tommy, the diamond on the forehead is white with some nice gold accents. Since the figure is entirely black, the gold paint chipping is very obvious. But the black and gold color combo is amazing. The frog ninja coin is nicely printed on, same shoulder design but in black with the diamonds painted on nicely, same thing for the cuffs. The lower half of the body is baggy as usual, but the white belt is nice and clean. Here are the boots and feet, where you can see the sandals design. As for the bandana, it's nicely sculpted in its unique way. Comparing it to Tommy's, you can see how they look slightly similar, but with their own characteristics. The cuff straps are nicely sculpted, and let's not forget about the boot straps too. The glossiness of the plastic brings out the design. Since Tommy's here, I noticed how the bicep joint on the right has a bigger gap than Adam's, so it looks like there's a minor flaw on my figure. Luckily, I'm okay with that. He comes with fists, karate chop hand, signature posing hand, a new chopping effect piece. Putting it in should be simple enough, even a 5-year-old could do it. Just don't give it to a 5-year-old. Unmasked Adam head, which is nicely sculpted all around with the bandana in between his undercut hairstyle, with some nice facial features and nicer detailed hair sculpt. We get the hooded mask head with its own unique creases and a cool looking masked assassin look to him. Billy is our last male figure of the set, so let's rush through him. Other than the obvious color differences in plastic, there are some unique characteristics to him too. It's a little tiny if you see it from afar, but if you take a closer look, you'll notice it. What I'm talking about is actually his eye color. If you take a closer look at the figure, you'll notice that his eyes are painted in blue. I've checked online for comparison and yeah, David Yoss's eyes are indeed blue. Very good attention to detail. The torso of the figure is of the same design with a nice printed on wolf power coin. The diamonds themselves are great with their gold accents. Your copy may vary, so do take note. The cuffs on the arms and boots are nicely done. Very good sculpting of the lower half because it's the same. Cuff straps too. And let's not forget the boots. Only other thing different would be the shape of the bandana. And that's basically it. He comes with fists, karate chop hand, signature posing hand, a punching effect piece where you have to align the right fist in the hole to put it in. No lube required. An unmasked head with a beautiful head sculpt and a head of hair. Mine does have a little drop of blue paint near his eyes, but hey, what are you gonna do? Cry about it? And a hooded masked head sculpted in its own way, but the eyes on the head, however, is unique in that it's giving you the side eye. Probably intended for the film crew working at that time. As for Kimberly, she is our first female Ninjetti figure. Now although she is casted in an entirely different mode as compared to the guys, you're gonna hear another broken record. Sorry about that. But at least we do have a small preview of how Aisha is going to look. For the eyes of the figure, it's nicely painted along with the eyebrows, but what's unique is that you see more skin around the eyes of this figure, which is an interesting choice of design. The torso is of course a smaller size as expected, and the crane power coin is nicely printed on. She has a front skirt made of the same soft plastic material, and I have noticed that the front skirt is missing a little white paint in the middle of that triangle. The diamonds are sculpted and painted consistently, similar to the male counterparts. Wow, Hasbro really didn't cut any corners with these tiny details. Also, double pinless joint elbows, which gives her the same posing range as the other Rangers. They may be of a different size, but the cuffs are looking good on Kim too. The The skirt can be lifted up to allow you to view the sculpting of her Ninjetti temple. The legs look bigger, but that is due to the baggy look of the suit and not an indication of her thighs. Plus, it's a different mold. The boots and the feet are looking good in their female version counterpart, and the bandana has its own unique design. The cuff straps has a wider design to them, but for the boot straps, it's nice and tight. She's got fists, karate chop hand, signature posing hand, a new kicking effect piece, where you can easily fit her right feet into the mold indent to give a nice swift kick, a maskless head, which is nicely sculpted and painted with long brown hair. The face looks more like a mature looking Kimberly though. And a hooded mask head. You already know how good it is and, well, appreciate the hard work that went into this. I must say that this would be my first experience with pinless joints when it comes to action figures made by Hasbro. Of course, our experiences may vary, but owning some SH Figuarts and building some Figurized Standard Kamen Rider model kits, I've never had a problem with not having pinless joints, except when it comes to the paint of the figure. What do we call the opposite of pinless joints anyway? Other than the soon-to-be reviewed Phantom Ranger from Wave 10, these pinless joints are awesome nonetheless and are perfect for the Ninjetti baggy outfits. Now for the neck joints of these figures are on a dumbbell joint. That's what I'm gonna call it. Same method I use to remove heads from figures, and you'll see the points of articulation. The neck is attached to the body, the lower ball joint to the neck, and the higher one to the head. Although this allows for a quagmire giggity giggity, I feel that this neck joint prevents the figures from looking up as far as the other Rangers we got before. Also, the neck piece doesn't have a clear distinction on where the Adams, I mean Tommy's apple, but it's fine since the neck is covered. The neck scarf can be customized to give your figure a unique look too. What I really want to talk about is the lack of proper ab crunch. If you wiggle the soft front plastic piece higher, you can see an ab crunch similar to the style of Marvel Legends figures. Either the joint is too tight or this outer piece is hindering it. Anyone else willing to bend your figures for me? Comparing Kim's figure with Tommy, you can see an obvious pin joint for the ab crunch. But even so, it's still hard to do it on her figure to do some dynamic poses. As for the figure's Ninjetti temple, the hip joints are individually made, which allows them more room for articulation. Just extend the leg further and rotate to your heart's desire. Again, be careful with your own figures. Comparing them to the Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue, Figurized Standard model kit, it's using the same technology for the hip joint. The ball joint on the hips have a tiny little bumps on them, which limits the articulation too. This might also be what's causing them to not kick back as far. As for the female body mold, the same neck sculpting that causes the confusion of which is the right side, you can giggity giggity with it, the dumbbell joint for the waist, and the same hip joint for the beautiful spread, giving you higher kicks. Oh, and the male scarf accessories, they are all of the same sculpt. Now, although this review may sound very repetitive in its entirety, this is what happens when almost the whole team is released in the same wave, which kinda gives you the vibe of how no one's unique and everyone just has something extra to differentiate themselves from the crowd. But it would be unfair to all of you if I only took a look at one figure and not give the others here their own close-up. Kinda rethinking my team review strategy now. Anyways, how do they look on the shelf? So, if you like this video, blast that like button, leave a comment down below, let me know what you think of this review, share this with your friends and family to let them know that ninjas are cool, and consider subscribing. I'm gonna go get packed for a trip for Chinese New Year, so once again, to those celebrating and watching, 恭喜发财. If you know, you know. This is KIDM the Man, and I'll see you all next time.